evening, everybody, and welcome to the Skippy Formula 2 race premiere. And we will get to that in just a second. And I want to make sure that we
Do we
get.
have to pit stop?
Oh. First of all, mute that. I want to make sure that we get to everybody. We're gonna have a potentially full broadcast booth tonight, which I'm really looking forward to. It gives me a little bit of excuse to kind of sit back and work the cameras and let people who know what they're talking about talk a little bit. But as you can see here, we're at Sonoma Raceway. This is going to be our premiere of the Skippy Formula 2 race, which I will actually let Jason talk to in a little bit here, who is in the broadcast booth with us tonight. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm we're throwing all this together a little bit at the last minute, but I think that's what's great about this is we're just going to go see what works, see what doesn't, and you're going to see a little of the sausage made, but I think we'll just keep getting better and better. But the other person we have in the booth tonight is Ian Worrell, who, as I understand it, is not racing tonight.
I am actually racing.
You are racing. Okay, there's a little bit of back and forth on that. So that's good.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story.
Glad we got that all sorted. And I happen to just see Mr. Paul Beatty hop in the broadcast booth. Are you with us, Paul? Maybe not. And Chris Herrera also mentioned that he may be swinging by. I'd love to grab his perspective on things, too. All right, well, so first of all, let us get right into it. The timing here is a little tight, and I understand that. And we're going to make sure that we get our grid up so folks can see where everybody ended up. We've got a relatively small grid here this evening for our first Sunday night Skippy Formula 2. But let's take a look. Congratulations, Jeff Fithian gets the pole position, followed by Oliver Hartley, Jake Ashe, Ian Worrell, Barry Stockdale, Peter Lee, Joe Zubovich, and then I believe, Jason, you are not racing, correct?
No, sir.
All right. I just wanted to make sure. And then I don't know if Keith Lee was either just not qualifying or what the deal was there. But, all right, so that'll be your starting lineup for this evening. And with all of that, holy cow, we didn't get a chance to talk about the track. We didn't get a chance to talk about what the heck we're actually even doing here. But I'm really excited for this. And once we get the race rolling along, I'm going to let Jason take over and kind of just give the, what did we call it, the Reader's Digest, the too long didn't read, the Cliff Notes, whatever you want to call it. But let's see.
I remember Spark Notes.
Yeah,
Spark Notes,
yeah.
there you go. Exactly.
Ooh, that's weird.
And that is Chris Herrera joining us in the booth. Oh my gosh, I was like, that didn't sound like Jason. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Looks like we got a good race coming up here soon.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for this. Jeffrey Decker's in the house. He's watching. He's got the SF2 hype going on. He's ready to watch some of these guys do battle on Sonoma. And I thought we'd be going here sooner than that. We got Peter Lee fan in the house as well. Awesome to see that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit rushed to the start, but here we go. As Ian goes the wrong direction there for just a little bit. and he's going backwards again. Able to make it off the grid, though. There goes Jeff Fithian leading the pack up the hill into turn 2.
Yeah, this turn 2 is particularly treacherous on the early laps because your tires are cold and it's not one of the easier turns.
Yeah, turn 2 and turn 6. We talked about that a little bit in our race, or our track breakdown. Getting around turn 6, that carousel on cold tires can be a little wonky, so that'll be coming up here in a moment. We'll see how they take it.
And what turn number is this? Is this the carousel, the long down left turn?
Yeah, the carousel is turn 6, I believe.
Yeah, that one is another one you're likely going to see a lot of spinning out on the early laps because it's off camber, it's downhill, and you got cold tires. Not a good combination.
No.
Oh!
Oh, looks like Fithian spun out a little bit going into, I'm guessing that's turn 7.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some interesting lines coming in through turn 7, both in this race and the next one. There are several quick lines through there, some rather shallow, some rather wide. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, exactly. I was just in a public race with Mr. Jeff Decker, and he and I had some first-hand experience with each other on different lines there. So I would miss the apex, and he would take the inside, and it's going to be
Yeah,
a good preview of what we're going to see probably in this race as well as the F1 race later on.
for sure.
So it looks like the front four have broken away, and then bringing up the chase pack in P5 is Zubovic, followed by Mr. Peter Lee, who may have been gapped.
Pull out my timing here.
I'm just sitting here in VR, so I don't have any timing or anything. I'm just going based on look.
Very old school. I like it.
Let me
Yeah,
get
so
to the
Jeff
chopper
has a
real
good
quick.
gap. Yeah. So Oliver's struggling just a little bit to hold on to that draft. He's about 0.95 back. For those that are new to the Skippy, anything within 1 second is draft distance. So as Jeff gets through this section, we'll see if he can pull away. Oliver almost lost it, but he managed to hang on to it.
And Chris, if you can take a look at Peter Lee, he and Joe Zubovic are having a side-by-side battle, and here comes Ian right behind him.
Oh yeah, this is gonna get dicey.
Too wide in the chicane, why not? And they do it nice. Oh, Ian spins out just a little
Ian.
bit. He's gonna lose that gap. So now it looks like we have Peter Lee and actually,
Yeah, so we still have Jeff in the lead. Ollie right behind him. Jake O'Shea, and then Joe and Peter battling for fourth.
oh no, Jake just goes off a little bit in T2, and I think he's definitely lost the gap there. He's got his work cut out for him if he wants to catch back up with Oliver and Jeff.
So,
Tell you what,
Jeff,
I can tell you from personal experience, I'm guessing Jeff is inadvertently looking at his mirrors quite a bit because Oliver is staying nice and cozy.
yeah.
Yep, we still got Joe Zubovic and Peter Lee still battling, almost going too wide. Looks like they're going to go down this long stretch into, I think it's T7. Let's see what the lines they take here. Oh, and they both spin out a little bit. Oh no! And they're going to hit each other. A little bit of damage, hopefully. Not too much.
Oh wow, that was a nice little tandem move though for a moment.
That's good.
Yeah, synchronized sliding.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, I'm seeing Peter Lee kicking up some sparks. I'm guessing he's got some damage. Yep, it looks like he doesn't have as much control as he wants. Let's hope he can get into the pits. Oh, and he loses his front
Oh,
left tire. Oh no.
Wow.
Luckily, there's no one anywhere near behind him, so he can take his time going into the pits.
Yeah.
And this, folks, is a master class on how to drive a Skippy with 3 wheels.
Definitely
a
not
lot
the
of tires
start.
from. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, not the start I'm sure he was hoping for, but all is not lost just yet. A lot of racing left to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and that gives
Oliver
Ian a
pushing
chance.
really hard to keep up with Jeff.
And I'm guessing Ian is a lap down. Either that or he had some heroic laps to catch back up with the front group. But yeah, Hartley staying right there, right behind Fithian. I think
Yeah.
if we continue at this pace, we're going to have some showdowns towards the end of the race, especially once those tires really get warming up and they get really comfortable.
Yeah, I mean they've got about a 4.5 second gap on Jake. But I get the impression that from some tire squeals by Ollie that he's pushing pretty hard to stay within the draft. So Jeff might be a bit more comfortable, at least right now, than Ollie is. But as the tires warm up, we'll see if that changes at all.
Yeah, if Jeff Fithian can continue to pull away, even if it's just, 500ths or 1/10 at a time, that's always a good confidence booster because, if you can maintain that, then eventually you're going to break that gap and then you have the track to yourself.
For sure. And when you see yourself collecting those kinds of points here and there, that tends to solve the driving out of your mirrors problem. You tend to just let that go and focus on your
Oh, absolutely.
own race.
What sort of gap do we have behind Jake and Oliver?
So we have a gap of about 4.5 to Jake, and then we have Joe about 14 seconds back from Jake.
So I think we may have introduced this graphic before, at least relatively briefly, but this will show lap 1 was the gap on, I'm sorry, the bottom bar there is the gap on lap 1, and it's a visual representation of the gap since then. So lap 4 being the latest, you can see that is between Hartley and Ashe, and how much that's grown, nearly 4 seconds over the past 4 laps.
So one of you tell me, is Barry Stockdale on the same lap as Peter Lee? And if so, what's that gap?
See, Barry is on lap 4. He is just now beginning lap 5.
And that is correct. They are on the same lap. I'm showing 1.8 seconds or so from Barry up to Peter.
Yeah, actually, just based on looks, and if my depth perception is right, I think Barry might be catching up with Peter Lee.
We'll bring up those sectors.
Yes, absolutely. He's getting there. I'm going to make a bold prediction. By the end of this lap, Barry Stockdale will be at least in the draft with Peter Lee. Oh, and Peter Lee goes off the track in the carousel. Unfortunate.
And at the same time, it looks like Ollie has lost contact with Jeff, so we'll see what happens to that gap. I'm curious to see the rate at which it increases, since Jeff was pulling away little by little with him in his draft.
And meanwhile, Joe Zubovich goes in for a pit stop. I'm guessing this is planned. His car looks fine to me.
So talk to us a little bit about the race itself, Jason. We still have 2 pit stops, yes. This is roughly the same setup, only a little bit shorter than the Formula One. We're now dubbing the Formula One series. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So the way this race is set up, it's a 35-minute race, and we're going to try it out with 2 pit stops. We'll see how that plays out. We weren't sure if 35 minutes was just too short to accommodate 2 pit stops. So there's definitely some experimentation going on here for folks that haven't been keeping up in Discord all week. It's been a zoo, but we're introducing this Skippy Formula 2 series, which is either 1700 or 1800 I rating and lower. Really wanted to give or kind of lean into the developmental nature of the league. That's been one of our primary goals since day one, is to have a place where people can learn and focus on racecraft. And what we've really heard from, I'd say, the bottom third of the pack, maybe even the bottom half of the pack, is by late in our races, they're putting more energy into staying out of the way than anything else. And that was really kind of detracting from the experience. So the purpose of this series is to give them a place where they can just be heads down and focus on a race and not on accommodating blue flags. And of course, once this race is over, anybody who is a member of the league is welcome and encouraged to join us in the Skippy Formula One series. Qualifying for that starts at 9 p.m. Eastern with the green flag shortly after 9:10.
Yeah, I think that's pretty great that not only did you guys come up with that initiative, but that we're giving it a try. I often forget how nerve-wracking it can be when you got some super fast folks behind you and you don't want to take them out, but you still have your own race to worry about. And maybe, other than Sunday Night Skippy, you probably don't have a whole lot of experience with that because the public races are so short. And in general, you're matched with people of at least somewhat equivalent speeds. So it really takes me back to the early days of MX-5 Miata in the Miata races, and having my heart rate just start pounding whenever the super fast guys were coming up behind me, and just the stress of not wanting to take them out while at the same time got my own blood pumping and wanting to go as fast as I can. So hopefully this is a nice bridge barrier for those guys, so we can get some more competitive racing. And as I'm talking, it looks like Oliver Hartley and Jeff Fithian have both entered the pits at the same time. And Hartley, I can't tell if he's gaining any time, but he's definitely keeping Fithian in his sights.
Yeah, he managed to stop the bleeding on that gap. So for that lap or two, while we were talking, he kept it about 1.5 seconds. So, but yeah, to your point, one of the things that this race hopefully lets them do is get a true taste of pit strategy. So we hopefully will see a little bit of that right here. Really curious to see how long each of their pit stops are, and if Ollie will consider cutting his fuel a little short so that he can do some laps in Jeff's draft.
Yeah, so they're doing 2 pit stops here, right?
Yeah, so look at this.
Okay,
We
it
have
looks like-
Oliver exiting right at the same time as Jeff.
Oh yeah, looks like he did the undercut on purpose to try to get in the draft and see what he can do here.
Yeah, I like it. Good
Yeah,
move.
absolutely. I think that's what I would have done as well.
Yeah.
And now Fithian might be thinking, great, did all that work to build a gap, and he's right back with me.
Yeah, and of course, if he holds it together, he'll come out ahead in their second pit stop. But
Although something I tend to not give enough weight to is the actual increased weight of the car after the pit stop, and you don't have quite the mobility that you had going into the pits. So it's almost like you're on a little bit of cold tires, but you really got to worry about it. A little bit more weight going left and right on the track.
yeah, it definitely confuses the senses. You really have to recalibrate very quickly. Most of my unintentional off-track excursions occur as I'm coming out of the pits that first lap, as I readjust to the feel of the car.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. Just like you said, you still have the grip with your tires, but the weight distribution is all off.
Right, right. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out, and we're more than willing to make adjustments to the format. For everybody, including you, Chris, who's been with the league for a long time. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary next Sunday at Suzuka. Oh, Oliver
Oliver
spins.
spun out. So that may be the end of the race, failing any sort of mistake from Jeff.
Yeah.
But
who's
Oliver
behind
still
him?
has quite a gap on Joe behind him, so he may have a strong P2 in the works, assuming nothing else catastrophic happens.
Yeah, just keep it clean and still be on the podium. But it's the format of Sunday Night Skippy today, the procedures, the rules, the format of the race is really night and day compared to where we started. If something's not working, we try to be quick about fixing it. So we will certainly apply that to this second series.
I was hoping to see a bit more participation in this particular race, but I guess it's understandable, with the holidays, as well as this is the first time we're doing the Formula 2 race as well. So hopefully we can get another instant of this happening next week and maybe get a little bit more participation.
Yeah, it's a tricky week for sure. This was a very late announcement. One of the big differences between Oliver off the track again, but he saves it. That could have been nasty. Yeah, one of the things working for this last week when we did the Session A and Session B is that they took place at the same time. So this is actually taking place an hour earlier than our regularly scheduled programming. So I don't know how much that has influenced turnout, but between that and the late announcement, and like you said, the holiday, we'll probably get a much better feel, a truer feel for this next week.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder, can Ian hear us talking right now?
Looks like we lost Ian. Ian is no longer in the booth with us. Now, I know that he was having some technical difficulties earlier as well. His software that drove his wheel kept crashing on him. So he tried a quick fix, but I don't know if that held up.
Gosh, I'm actually sort of in the market for a whole new rig setup with the rig, the motor, and the wheel and everything. But hearing these horror stories has making me reconsider sticking with the trusty Thrustmaster T300.
Yeah, yeah. So it does look like we still have Ian on the track. So he's a bit back, but he's putting in laps. So.
And if either of you has the software up and running, can you tell if Oliver Hartley is gaining time on? Actually,
So at this
is
point,
he
Ollie
behind
is
Jake now?
yeah, Oliver's falling behind Jake. Jake is about 10 seconds back from Jeff, and then Ollie is almost 3 seconds back from Jake, and that's holding fairly steady. So we'll see how that develops. I was watching both of them in qualifying, and if we look at their best lap times, they are putting down very, very comparable times. Jake's best is a 146.8, whereas Ollie's is a 146.5.
Interesting. So if we play some math games and pretend that they maintain that separation, we got 0.3 seconds per lap, and he's about maybe 3 seconds behind or so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we have 10 laps left.
Yeah, and so Oliver, he had to have cut his fuel short in that first stop. So it'll be interesting to see where he is relative to Jake, who I assume took a normal pit stop.
Oh, that's
full load.
right.
So,
Are we certain that Jake pit?
yes, Jake did pit.
That's right. It does look like Barry Stockdale and Ian Worrell both have 2 stops. Everybody else has 1, although not all that is necessarily fuel strategy. Some of that was damage and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm keeping an eye on Jeff, and he just has his head down. At this point, he does have the quick lap at a 146 flat. So if he keeps doing that, he should be in real good shape. I would say that he could even afford a moderate spin with a good recovery and still come out okay. Little wide on turn 7 there, but he kept it together.
I'm just doing a quick paint check of everybody. Taking a look at Joe Zubovich, we see he's proudly sponsored by Brando. It's got what plants crave. Ian Worrell rocking the classic Sunday Night Skippy paint scheme with those beautiful, I like to call those bumper car yellow rims.
Yeah, yeah.
Oliver Hartley with the classic Google paint scheme along with the smiley face helmet. Always a good combination.
And I think he has stuck with that since he joined the league back in season 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I do appreciate, I completely understand when people change their paints. I do it, or I used to do it a lot, but it's always nice when people maintain it for quite a bit. It sort of becomes part of their personality.
Right, right.
Jake Gachet, I know he changes his paint quite a bit. This one is new to me. I'm not good with the camera controls, but it looks like we got... Fueled by balls. I used to drink that energy drink.
All right, and so while we've been talking paint, Oliver's gap to Jake has increased. So he is now at 4 seconds. So he does seem to be losing a little bit of time to Jake. Despite having putting down a better lap than Jake, I think he may have had a mistake. but now he seems to be reining Jake back in. So, yeah, this is rubber banding a little bit. I'll be really curious to see what happens when they pit.
Yeah, and this is an interesting setup. It's a 35-minute race with 2 pit stops, so this is completely different strategy from anything I've ever prepared for. So I don't know when to expect these guys to go back in for their second pit.
Yeah, and that's what's tricky with a 35-minute race and 2 pit stops. We limited the fuel to 28%, which is that's just a couple drops in the tank. So I suspect if there's anything that we need to adjust for next week, it might be that either going to a slightly longer format or dropping down to 1 pit stop. But that'll all be based on the feedback that we get from these drivers tonight.
Yeah, continuing his set hot
Yeah.
laps.
Yeah, Jeff and Jake both are the only two to make a visit to the 45s. Well, maybe Jake not. I thought for a moment Jake had a 45 in there, but yeah, Jeff is the only one to dip into 45s right now.
Yeah, it looks like Jake had a 45 on lap 11, but I'm guessing he went off track because that's not counting as his fastest lap.
Yeah.
And as I say that, he did a beautiful, I think, turn 4 and 5. Now let's take a look at... Missed the apex just a little bit, but at least I don't think he lost too much speed. Now this carousel turn, I'm following Jake right now. Even when your tires are super warm and even when you are locked in, for me it's always just a little bit of a moment's hesitation and a little bit of stress because it's one of those turns there's not a whole lot of indications for when to turn in, when to brake. You really want to feather that brake with the turn in as well, and then it's off camber, so it's really just a whole recipe for disaster every single time.
You're basically applying everything you know about the car to get it around that corner as quick as you can.
Yeah,
Jeff and,
exactly.
yeah, Jeff, Peter, and I, or Peter, Pim, and I were talking about that last night. For me, consistency-wise, that is the toughest section of track here because I can nail it on 1 lap. And if your entry isn't absolutely perfect, not right on the mark, then everything that happens right after that suffers. Ideally, you just slot right in there, and you're mostly throttle steering in that little cambered inside line. But if you miss that entry and blow that line even a little bit, it's a completely different corner.
So the average pit
Oliver
lane
just
time...
took 12 like a pro.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Talk about the 145 club there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Oliver may have the hot lap.
Yep.
That is looking correct. And so Oliver, the last of the top 3 who have not done their 2 pit stops yet. I'm showing Joe Zubovich, the top runner, who has done both pit stops, and he is currently 1 minute and 7 seconds back. Current pit lane time on average is anywhere between 51 and 57 seconds on the last pit stops for these folks. So I do not believe that Joe is going to be able to make that work unless he hits some really hot laps here going into the final stages. I do believe the top 3 are going to be able to maintain their distance. And yeah, so for what that's worth for your pit strategy for your race moving forward there.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I'm just getting a 10 minutes left notification. And if my math is correct, it looks like Oliver Hartley has gained almost a second over the last 2 laps on Jake O'Shea.
Yeah, he's figured something out in turn 12 there. Speaking of tricky turns at Sonoma, we've been discussing the very ambiguous track limits at 12 all week long, and Oliver has hit it twice now very, very well, and you can really cover some ground. If you're hitting that and others aren't, that can really change the complexion of the race.
And it looks like Jake's going for 1 more lap while Oliver is going in for the pits. So we could potentially have an exciting pit exit for Jake maybe at the end of the next lap.
That's right, both
Yeah.
Jeff and Oliver in the pit road now.
Well, gentlemen, while they pit, it is time for me to put my driving hat on.
Yeah, understood. Whenever you guys need
Yep.
to head on out and get your head in the right space for your for your race.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
there's this Herrera guy out there tonight that
I right.
I've got to figure him out. So,
Uh,
all right,
I think.
guys, Chris, I will see you on the track.
All right. See you out there, sir.
And yeah, other Chris, good luck with the rest of the broadcast.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining us and giving us an insight into the Formula 2. And we'll hopefully see you next week. We'll see.
Absolutely.
So I'm focused here on Jake Ashe as he makes his way around the far end of the track. Heading back, I'm showing a current gap of 26 seconds, and I'm really curious to see what his plan is here. Coming down, like you were saying, we're well inside of 10 minutes now, down to inside of 8, as a matter of fact. And so his time for pitting is running out. One thing that I don't know is how long you can go based on the limits that they set, because it's going to be a little different for this race.
Yep, there goes Jake into the pits, and I don't know if my mind. Oh no, he spins a little bit, but he catch it. I don't know if my mind was playing tricks on me, but he may have been sputtering a little bit going into this particular.
So I guess that's our answer.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to follow Oliver Hartley now, and assuming he and Jake maintained some pretty good laps, he could potentially be coming out of, or he could be rounding the end of the lap as Jake is coming out, and maybe no more than 2 or 3 seconds behind. So
Yeah,
this will be fun to watch.
So there's Jeff crossing the start-finish line now, making the pass on Jake. Jake's still in there, and that's Oliver. Oh, Jake with a splash and go.
Yeah. Okay, so the gap has increased after Jake's pit stop there.
So on that one, just for reference, I'm showing about a 2-second-ish, 2.5-second difference. Actually, you know what? Well, I don't know why I'm explaining it to you. I can just bring it up. There you go. That's their last pit lane time. You can see Jake with a 49.8. Clearly 2 to almost 3 seconds faster than the competition around him there. In part, I'm sure, due to the fact that he needed less fuel, having gone longer.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, only about 6 minutes left of race time.
Joe Zubovic sets a personal best on the evening there on lap 15. Having a great race. Barry Stockdale, we haven't checked in with him in just a little bit. I think he's going to be able to bring it home P5 if nothing else. And Peter Lee. Rolling around P6, Ian Worrell just behind him in P7. And that should be the field. As we see it, Jeff Fithian set a hot sector there in number 3, and hot lap for the evening. So Jeff really feeling himself tonight.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm also seeing, in terms of Jeff's laps, he has 4 laps that are over 2 minutes long. Can you tell how many times he's pit? Because he's still in first place, but...
I'm showing 2 total pit stops. So that's
Interesting.
interesting. So you're seeing 4 laps over 2 minutes?
Yeah, lap 7, 8, and then 12 or 14 and 15.
Interesting.
Maybe he spun out or something. I'm gonna do a little bit of research.
Maybe because the pit lane crosses start-finish line.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
There
the
you
pit
go.
time probably gets distributed between the 2. Yeah, that makes sense.
With our powers combined.
Chris and Chris detectives.
That's right. We got our own book series. Netflix mini drama. All right, yeah. Let me bring up the lap times here. You can see Jake actually was doing pretty well. I think lap 14 there, obviously, and 15 are when he pit. And then 16 is when Jake pit. So I guess ultimately those times are not going to show us a ton. Now that I'm looking at it. Ooh, Jeff going in a little hot there. Hey, so talk to me about, and I need to bring up the track map again here, that final 11A, that sharp turn right before the start-finish line. How is it that you attack that?
Let's see. Is that the one that Jake just went through?
That is correct, yeah. And Oliver just
Oh,
went
that's
through.
the one. Yeah. So you sort of, it looks like you're cutting the course, but you're not really.
Yeah, let's ride along here with Joe Zubovich.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So coming up here into, I think this is, we call this the chicane. This one by itself is actually pretty tricky. You can go quite a bit off track onto the dirt without generating a 1x. So we're coming into 11A, as you mentioned. It's at the end of this little straight right here. So I would get to the left here. I would brake right up the tie barrier, and then I'm aiming to get my left tire inside of the yellow and blue curb thing right there. So I actually want to cut that quite a bit.
So the track limits there are a little forgiving from that regard. You would not. I would anticipate that the blue and yellow bumper turtle or whatever you want to call it would indicate the track limit, but that's not the case.
Yes, exactly. So you actually want to cut it almost completely. And in fact, I was mentioning I like to get my left tires inside of that blue-yellow thing. And if possible, you can actually get 1, maybe even 2 feet of a gap further than that as well. But if you go a little too zealous, then you're going to get I think a 1.2 second slowdown.
A little risk reward there for you, depending on how lucky you feel.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, this is actually going to be pretty close. Oh, are you heading out?
No, I was taking a look at Jeff Fithian coming up onto, I think, potentially the final lap.
Yeah, so he's going to be right on it, honestly. I believe this may be the last lap, but he is right at his best lap time as far as the time remaining goes. So this could be, if he has a little slip or anything like that, it'll be the last lap. But if he sets a hot lap here, it actually may be the second to last, which I don't know, based on what people were planning on their pit stops, could change things up a little bit.
Or even Jeff himself may not have anticipated going this fast. So if he's not thinking and he goes too fast, he might not have enough gas to finish the final lap.
We are all going to find out together. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm getting a little stressed because I realize I haven't practiced my pit entry yet and only have about 10 minutes left to practice, but I'm determined to see this through.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you hanging out and giving the perspective. We're just obviously feeling all this out, how this is all going to work logistically moving forward. So, yeah, learning experience.
What do you have for a race time right now?
I'm showing 34 minutes and 30 seconds right now.
30 seconds. Oh, this is going to be close.
Yep. Let's take a look. His sectors, though, have been not slow, but I mean relatively. He hasn't set any green or purple sectors, so I would imagine this is going to be it. Yep, and I'm getting the checkered flag indication. Here comes Jeff Fithian around 11A.
All right. Congrats to Jeff Fithian. Excellent win.
Very well done. Well executed.
And let's see. We've got to follow these other guys as well. Ooh, Jake may have cut that a little close on 11A, but I think does not have the gap to Oliver.
Yeah, we were talking.
Oh, yeah.
Oliver really worked his way up there, didn't he?
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't even looking. Oliver just maybe a second behind.
Congratulations to Jake and Oliver for rounding out the podium there, though. Great
Here comes Ian crossing the finish line. And then let's get Joe and Peter Lee are still on the track, as well as Barry Stockdale.
Joe Zubovich bringing it on home in P4, up 3 spots total. Great race for him. I'm sure he's super happy with
Well
that.
done, Mr. Zubovich.
There's nothing to sneeze at. There you go. That Peter Lee's line through there looked a little more like
Yeah.
what you were talking about.
I was watching that too. Yeah, exactly that. And you can actually get a little bit more aggressive than that as well.
And Barry Stockdale's going to bring it on home for us. P6 down
All
one
right.
total spot.
Well, congrats to everybody here, and I'm gonna quickly hop off and see if I can get some practice left in.
We'll see you in a few minutes, man.
All right, see you,
Good
man.
luck.
Bye bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that is the, I guess, series premiere of Skippy Formula 2. Like was mentioned earlier, we're hoping as people understand what it exactly is, and we're getting a little more participation in there. But we had 12 drivers on last Sunday in what we were calling the B split, and that was some of the best racing and most fun that we've had in quite a while. So we're hoping to just kind of capture that spirit moving forward, and I think we're doing a good job so far. Let's take one last look at our overall race results. Jeff Fithian brings home the win in the series premiere, so etched in the history books there. Congratulations to Jeff. Jake Ashe and Oliver Hartley round out your podium. Joe Zubovich, Peter Lee, Barry Stockdale, Ian Worrell. We will not look at Jason and Keith there. That is going to be your final results for the series premiere, the Skippy Formula 2. Congratulations to all those involved. What we'll do now is we will take a short break. I'm going to go to an intermission. I will put up a timer, and we will get to the Skippy Formula 1 race, one that is up, and we'll carry on the broadcast from there. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Really appreciate everybody showing their support, especially the drivers of the Skippy Formula 1 series who do that exclusively. So we will see everybody in just a few minutes as we finish up the final practice and qualifying for the next race. We will see you then. good evening, race fans. Once again, welcome to the second race of tonight's series, the Skippy Formula 1 event. I apologize. See, we're learning as we go, aren't we? Here, check this out. Real time. And then we'll change the name. Boom. This is
What are
why
you looking at?
we do it. I've got
What
the
are you
nice,
looking at?
I've got the nice little race information up, but it's from the last race, and this is why we practice. So, I am joined by Ian. Once again, we did not have you last race. I hope that let you focus on everything, but we're gonna distract you this go around. So, welcome to the broadcast booth, and I hope that you have had a fantastic night so far. How was the first race for you?
Unfortunately, it was a bit of an exercise in frustration because my main steering wheel decided to quit working on me, and I couldn't get any of the buttons to work on it. So I've gone to a backup wheel, which wasn't configured, and so I started my first race by going into reverse gear.
I'm not gonna say we didn't notice that, but yes, it was. It kind of stuck out a little bit, but that's all right.
Oh, it was
That's all right.
frustrating.
That's why we have two races. We're here for redemption, and we hope we can give that to you. Sonoma Raceway, which you just saw if you tuned into the Skippy Formula 2 race, is going to provide some fantastic racing. I think drivers kind of split on whether or not they like it or not. I don't really care what they think. I think this is going to be a great race to watch, and I'm really looking forward to it. And let's look in real quick at our... Holy cow, there we go. Qualifying session here. We got just about 3 minutes remaining, exactly 3 minutes remaining as a matter of fact. And we want to see the best time. There you go. Chris Herrera, who is in the booth with us and talking us through what he looks for during some of the turns of the race. Currently with the hot lap, 1:45.041. Edwin Virino not too far behind him, though. And we have Jeffrey Decker up there starting in the second row right now, along with Jason Bice, our other broadcaster. So at the moment, at least, looks like we had a pretty stacked booth there for the Formula 2 race, which was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we are going to do that, and we'll continue to do that. It's just a lot of fun to watch those races. That being said, having 40 Skip Barber Formula 2000s back on the track is going to be just another blast in and of itself, and we've got some really fast racers here to watch tonight, and we're gonna surprise folks with some neat new features on the broadcast, and I won't give it away just yet. I'll let you know. I'm sorry, I won't let you know. I will. I'll just bring it up, and we'll see if you notice. Brand new feature that we are going to unveil tonight, and that's something I'm excited about. In addition to the racing, and hopefully just kind of add a little more joy to everybody's day. Been a heck of a year, and we are looking forward to starting 2021 off right. And this is a great way to do it. Spend Sunday night with some friends, watching your loved ones and friends race around Sonoma Raceway in the Skip Barber Formula 2000. Chris Herrera breaking the 145 barrier there. Holy cow. I mean, can't go wrong. I don't know why my timing tower is freaking out. Oh, that's because I have it set to 20. So here's the other thing, everyone. I know we're going to get to the race here eventually. I need to, this is going to be my little psychologist couch session here. We had quite an adventure where I had to basically re-image my computer, and that created some issues where I did not back up everything I should have, including all of the broadcast stuff. So, as you can imagine, I basically had to build everything from scratch over the past week. And we'll see. I think I got it pretty close, but I'm sure we'll run into some issues here and there as I'm resizing the timing tower. Again, the popularity of Sunday Night Skippy just adding to the complexity of what we try to do with as many folks that like to race. So, that all being said, let's go check in with our pole sitter right now, as the cars are all out on the track at the same time, but they can't see each other. So this is not an open session. This is just them all out. And actually, I just focused on Chris, who set his last lap. Is there anybody who's got laps left? Here we go. Kyler Reed. I thought.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah, go ahead.
can you dump me out of the broadcast booth and pull me back in? All I can hear is you talking, unfortunately, and for some reason my sound is completely borked.
Oh, you don't want to hear me talk? That's fine.
Well, I can't hear the car.
Yeah, I'll throw you in there. Here we go.
Thank you, mate.
We'll see in a bit. We also do have a special surprise guest here in that same standby booth as Pete Mobrotten. So, time and race situation permitting, we'll bring him in here. He was gracious enough to offer his time and energy and effort trying to talk and drive at the same time. But of course, I don't want to be responsible for rooting his race either. So, we will see how that all goes. Anyway, let's take a look at our grid tonight. Congratulations to Chris Herrera on the pole, the bonus points that are associated with that. Mike Bowers in second. It will be starting alongside him. Great lap for Mike Bowers. Wow, holy cow! I know he's been practicing a lot of dirt oval recently for the winter challenge. So that's great to see him just really making some time here on the Sonoma course. Let's listen into the driver's brief.
All right, does everybody copy?
Yep.
All right, good deal. So we'll try to keep this short, just like last week. Few quick things to remember, something that a couple stewards brought up and something that league officials have noticed during the practice races is we definitely have some varying lines going through turn 7, which is the hairpin after the carousel, and then, of course, turn 12, which is the super ambiguous track limits right before the front straight. So very uncommon to see a lot of different lines through both of those areas. Just be super mindful that if you're coming up the inside of somebody who's in front of you, if their line gets them to turn in before you have overlap, then you do have a duty to back out. That's particularly true with turn 7 because there are really 3 lines that we've seen through that corner, all perfectly valid. But just be careful as you're going through there. The carousel on cold tires is pretty treacherous. That's turn 6. So please be careful on the first lap or two. We do have a couple black flags that need to be served within the first few laps. So guys that need to go into the pit to make sure that you don't blow through anybody right in front of you because they're going to be making that turn into 12. And really, as a follow-on to that later on in the race, keep in mind that just because you intend to pit does not mean that the person in front of you intends to pit. We've seen at just about every track that has a pit entrance just like this one, there is inevitably an incident where a following car was pitting, the leading car was not, and then the leading car got collected. So please, please, please be careful with that. As always, keep voice chatter to an absolute minimum. Apparently there was some confusion about what that really means. If you're a back marker and you have lapping traffic that needs to get around you, if you need to communicate something over voice comms, that's totally fine. And certainly, lapping traffic, if you think that the car in front hasn't noticed you, you're free to get their attention. But any other chatter, we kind of want to keep that out of the race. If you need to apologize or, ask somebody what happened, due to an incident or whatever, just please save that stuff for Discord after the race. What else? Stewards and officials, Ian, Jeffrey, Don, Walter, anything you have to add? And I'm going to increase the grid time real quick here.
I think you covered everything. How many pit stops?
This is a 40-minute race. There is only one pit stop.
I guess just remember on the first laps, especially into 7 and the bus stop, there's going to be a huge backup. So remember, like, your braking points are probably going to have to be super early those opening couple of laps.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And of course, the back straight that leads up to the chicane at turn 9 and 9A, there is that little kink in the road. I think that a lot of people are using at this point for a brake marker. But again, when you're in traffic and before you really understand what the cars around you do, how they brake in that area, just use some caution and be prepared for other people to be using caution there as well. If one person uses caution and another person doesn't, that creates even more variability. So just be patient through those trouble sections on the first lap or two.
What about the pit exit when there's oncoming traffic?
Good question. So traffic that's exiting should keep as tight a line as possible if there's oncoming traffic. And oncoming traffic, you'll have to negotiate anybody who might be coming out of the pit. We had a few close calls in our practice races, I think, but I don't think that it's severe enough that we need to say that one person over the other has any priority. Certainly, if anybody disagrees with that, we can talk about it real quick.
No, I would suggest that if you're on track and you think someone's going to be exiting the pits, you can see them pretty easily because they're uphill from you when you're on the main straight. So just take a peek over there, and you should be able to prepare yourself for what's happening.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, I'm just going to leave the grid countdown at where it is, so we're about 1:45 out. Good luck, everybody.
All right, you heard it there. That was the driver's briefing given by Jason Bice et al., some of the admins. One pit stop tonight, a little bit different for us, 40-minute race, and that is the strategy that the drivers have to kind of wrap their heads around going into the race this evening. We will bring up a quick track map. Now, granted, with this new layout of the race evening, we may run into some issues. For example, a fan favorite is sorry, Ian wants to get pulled back in here. The track tour by Ian, so we'll work on that, but we'll follow around and try to get some insight here in a little bit. In the meantime, we can pull up the track map and make sure that everybody gets a sense of what the track actually looks like. I know that as a race fan, if you're unfamiliar with the track layout, that is definitely one of the tougher things to kind of wrap your head around. Sorry, I'm doing some stuff real time here as well.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear, bud.
All right, good. Okay, I think I got my sound sorted out, although I'm not sure. We'll see.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'll drop you off if not. In the meantime here, there's the chat. I'll keep that up as well from time to time. I'll let you guys know. You guys can always participate in the discussion and let us know what you think, who you're rooting for. All right, well, here we go. It's time to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. 39 Skip Barber Foreman 2000s as the lights go out and Chris Herrera takes the field up the hill to turns 1 and 2. Looks like a clean race so far, but you can see that swarm of cars throughout the field. That is tough. Looks like Jack Moffitt with just a temporary excursion off the track, and we're going too wide a little back further through the field, coming down the hill and into the carousel, the portion of the track that Chris Herrera was talking about in the Formula 2 race, where he always has just a little bit of hesitation and trepidation, no matter how warm the tires are. So you can imagine on cold tires what that must feel like. And we're going 2 by 2, if not more, throughout the field here. Relatively clean so far. I think I may have just jinxed the whole dang field, but there you go. Bring up your race information here so everybody can see the gap up to...
Yeah, guess what?
Actually, let's go interval.
Yeah, guess what?
Shh.
Guess what? And there you can see that aggressive line that Chris was talking about. That was actually very aggressive. I'm surprised that that was not a cutting of the course, but that just gives you a real big sense of how much time there is to be had a little further back. And it does look like Louis Bobino, I don't know if he's off track or trying to get a hold of him back in the pits. Okay, so actually this is, I believe, that has more to do with the black flag penalties that have to be served. Bit off on that a little bit, apologies, but you can see Edwin falling back. He's gonna shuffle in right behind Jason Bice. Off track once again. Otherwise, looking solid so far. We've got Mike Bowers taking the lead, and of course I would miss that. But Chris, not one to go quietly into the night. He's gonna ride the gearbox there of Mike Bowers, try to get a good run. This is a nice long straightaway there. A lot of time to be had.
Shit. Oops, sorry.
Chris gonna sneak it into the chicane. That is a tough move, but he makes it stick. Mike giving him plenty of room there. We've got some great racing back here. 2 by 2 they go down through the chicane. And everybody's making it work for the most part. Oh, as I say that. We've got Don Parks. Looks like Jeff Padina. And oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, there. I can't even keep up with all the incidents going on right now. So we're gonna have to sort that out in just a moment. Let's ride. Try to find out what happened back here with Edwin, and we're gonna find out too much. We're just kind of going off the track there. So Walter to 50 and going off the track. Our race winner from the Formula 2 series. Swinging it a little bit wide. Here's what happened to Ian with the exclamation there, and that, there we go, there's a lot of...
Yeah.
there.
I don't know what happened to my car, so I decided to do a jump into the pits just in case.
And that's where some of that stuff is going on. A little further up, though. Oh boy. All right, well, let's jump back live. We've been focused on this for quite a bit here. I don't know what happened to Mike Bowers. I will try to check in on that. But Chris Herrera now gap in the field. Jeffrey Decker in second. Timo Broughton in third. Mike Bowers in fourth. I'm getting an indication Sammy Bridge is off track. Let's see if I can find... So this was the pass here. Actually, let's look a little further back. This is the pass where Pete Mulbroughton makes it past Mike, and Jeffrey Decker soon behind him. So actually, yeah, not too much. Just a good run off the turn, and Mike shuffles back in, so. Alright, so that's how we ended up where we're at. Chris Herrera now comfortably up on the field. Getting an indication Gherkin Demir spinning, and there you go. Alright. Let us I think we're just about caught up. We did miss a bunch of stuff, and I do apologize, but man, things happen pretty rapid fire there, and I've got no other sets of eyes to help me out, so apologies on that. Let's look at... Walter Pilata there, running at the top 10, pacing on his own for the moment. Sammy Bridges in the pits. Once again, looks like Thomas Photos has crashed and went off track. We do have a battle here, Paul Bachler and Kyle Reed. All right, let's check in JR Hoops. And let's see if this works. I just gave it away. There we go. We're live on board with JR Hoops as you watch him take the... And of course I'm hitting the wrong things here. Take the track. That is the live view of JR's virtual reality headset, so you get a very good sense of kind of what he's doing, looking around, making a great pass. As he approaches the chicane, and he's going to let that settle out. This is currently your battle. Actually, one of the closer ones. We do have Chris Herrera out to a nearly 3-second lead. And then all the way back to 8 is pretty well packed together. Then you're going to have another 2.5 seconds back down to 4 seconds back to Walter Plata, rounding out your top 10. So this is some of the best racing action we've got going on at the moment. We are lucky enough to have the ride-along view of JR Hoops. Actually, Scott Dawkins is going to lead this pack, looking back from his view. JR's going to swing out wide. You can see it there. Hoping to carry some of that momentum through the turn onto the straight as they head back down toward the chicane. JR trying to make it stick on the outside. He's going to go in, and he will pull off the pass there on Thomas Photos and Carter Stickney. And there you go. also have in the booth tonight our Scott Bell. As we take a live look on what he's up to. Currently sitting in P17, up 8 spots total. Pretty happy with that result so far, I would assume. Although he does have quite the gap up to Paul Bachler there in P16. Now, I believe Mr. Bell has one of those motion rigs. I think we've seen pictures of that before, so that's why you kind of see him rocking around and rolling. That has got to be some sort of immersion right there. That looks like a lot of fun. You can tell he's sitting there. I don't know what he's got as his relative there. You can see the minus 0.75. That's either on his lap or his sector. Looks like his lap, so Bell looking to set a really good lap for himself here this go around as those tires warm up. Not a ton of movement throughout the field, at least for the moment. Let's check in and see what Scott sets for himself. It's Scott's wife checking in. Yeah, that is an impressive rig, and we are all super envious of it, I have to say. That is
Absolutely.
that is next level.
The way you're talking about it, it makes me want to take my headset off and go and see what you're talking about.
he's rolling, and that
Oh
looks
my
like
gosh.
a ton of fun. I got to imagine racing and flight sims are just kind of a whole different experience in one of those. So Scott, a lucky man for sure. And he continues to set some pretty fast times there through the sectors. He's still up on his best at the moment right now. You can see there in his stream. So I'm sure he's pretty happy with that. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Walter Collada also in the booth. He has made some time up. On Judah Tolman. Last time we checked out Walter, he was kind of out there on his own, so I'm not exactly sure. As I'm testing out our new toys here, I'm not paying super close attention to much else. No apologies for that, but I don't know if that's Walter just setting hot laps. Actually, now that I say that, let's bring up the time delta. Yeah, it does look like something happened to Judah there on lap 8. Nobody has really pit yet, except for those who were either black flagged or involved in an incident. So I imagine Judah was off track at some point or had a goofy turn, because that is quite the jump. Quite the jump. Yeah, you can see it right there. Nearly 3 seconds on that last lap that Walter made contact. Judah having been faster than him up until that point. All right. Check back in here. It does look like there's been a little bit of separation on that front pack. And I'm not sure why, so let's go see if we can't figure that out. Chris Herrera now 3.5 seconds still. I want to take a look at the lap times between him and Mr. Decker. Chris able to maintain pretty good pace here. No worries from that perspective. And then just a little bit more balance here as we look back at Decker, Mabrat, and Bowers. Bowers down 2 spots after starting on the front row. Scrolling through the incident log here, not seeing exactly when or what may have happened to split this lead group up so much. They were pretty tightly packed the last time I checked in on them, so I'm sure we will hear about that later, somewhere in or around laps 8 to 10. Does appear something may have happened, but at any rate, there's your intervals. Still not too bad of a battles going on. Let's check in with our guest commentator, Jason Weiss, from the Formula 2 race. He's got Carl Dronke just a half second ahead of him, and Peter Nodwell less than that behind him. He's number 2 in a train of 4. As Judah Tolman goes into pit road, so that's really a little bit of an undercut strategy there, unless he had been damaged or something like that. It's pretty incredible. See, he figured he's got nothing to lose. Judah having shown some pit strategy acumen earlier in the season, last season. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a strategy move either, but can't be sure for right now. Jeff Torbeck also taking the opportunity to go down pit road. Got our great race shaping up back here further in the field. Jeff Fithian, the winner of the Formula 2 race, Scott Dawkins and Carter Stickney locked in epic battle with each other. A little further back, Gurkin Demir, he had just a little bit of trouble there on the opening laps. We give him his due. Gurkin, able and willing to stream his point of view as well, to which we were very thankful, for which we were very thankful. And even though he doesn't have a quick battle going on at the moment, I'm sure that'll change here shortly, and it's just really great to see just another point of view. I just think this is a really neat feature, and we'll be rolling that out, and as I get a little better with it, etc., etc. But there's Gurkin, what he's looking at, and what I want, when you see what everybody's looking at through the virtual reality, especially, because that seems to be what we're seeing. Look at where their eyes go. Because we don't get that on the roll bar camera or even the cockpit camera when I go to them. You can really see where their eyes are kind of trying to lead the turn and look through the apex and into the follow-on straight. It's really something else to see, a point of view that you don't normally get. So. Oh my, that was Scott Dawkins. I can't do Australian accent. I apologize. Well, let's check in with him really quick and see what may have happened to Scott. But that looked really nasty. As Gurkin dips, dodges into pit road. Scott did not pass go, did not collect $200, straight into the tire barrier. Not sure. Not sure. All right, well, let's bring it back on up. Chris Herrera now with a over 4-second lead on the rest of the pack. And Jeffrey Decker leading a train of 3. Great battle going on here, though. Jeffrey, Pete, and Mike. Now, Pete, obviously having offered his interview services, but I'm not going to do that right now. I mean, because I could, but that would not, I think, be a very very good idea. Carl, oh, no, sorry, there's Mike. Mike Bowers, right on board with him. But Mike, oh my goodness, got a great view of this lapping of cars while trying to fight for position. That is just something, you know, one of the reasons the Formula 2 race is so important, and I think could be interesting is with a smaller grid, not really going to have those types of issues. And I think it's going to lead to some fantastic racing, but not that this isn't, because we have the top 10 now. Sorry, the top 8 is quote gap. So the interval. I mean, this is still anybody's race, really. I should say anybody's podium. Chris is really starting to pull away. Just set a hot lap of 1:44.6. So he's got the purple lap of the evening thus far. Outside of that, though, you can see all the way back P2 to P8 is going to be hotly contested. Jack Moffitt currently sitting in P9, 11 seconds back from the group. You can see his view there. And then Max DiGiacomo, another 6.5 seconds back from Jack. Max and Jack. All right, well, we have takers on pit road. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We've got pit road strategy coming into play. Chris Herrera, Pete Morbott, and Peter Nodwell all stay out, so it's going to move Peter up into that P3 position, up 6 spots now. But Jeffrey Decker, Mike Bowers, Jason Bice, Evan Virino, Carl Dronke all taking the early opportunity to duck and get some of that Sunoco race fuel. Jack Moffitt, Jack Moffitt stays out, moving him into P4. So now it's going to become a numbers game. This is only a one-stop race. Remember, this is not like the other races, a one-stop race. So not as much strategy involved, not as much opportunity to make up time on pit road, but still plenty, I would say. And you can see the race off there. It does look like Jeffrey Decker is going to lead the way. Steve Dewar is ahead of him. My apologies. Bowers, Carl Dronke, Jason Bice behind him. All right, so Chris Herrera now up 6 seconds nearly. So he's actually not in any sort of and Scott checking in after the full send into the tire barrier there. There you go, Chris taking the opportunity. Here's Pete, 6 seconds back, also going to duck into pit road. Peter Nodwell will do the same, and I imagine Jack Moffitt here right behind them will follow suit. There you go. So Max DiGiacomo and Steve Dewar are the only drivers yet to pit. So that's going to leave Max leading the race. Steve, will come out right in front of Chris. It's going to put Steve in P2. So Max and Steve going for the overcut. As Chris gets his tires warmed back up. Doing a great job of holding his own. Max out there in the lead by 7 seconds now. You can see him gonna work his way around and back down the chute, and we'll see if they decide to go into pit road now. I'll bring this up real quick just so I'm sure that I'm not going crazy. Yep, 0 stops for Max, Steve, and Peter. Everybody else has had at least their one. So that's your pit strategy for this evening. We've got 26 minutes now. I'm not going on 27 minutes into a 40-minute race. And I have to imagine, there you go. Giacomo into pit road, Dewar into pit road. That's going to leave Chris Herrera back out there in the lead. This is Pete Mobrotten, though, and Jeffrey Decker hot on his tail. Just behind them, Carl Dronke and Mike Bowers. And while we're at it, why don't we just bring up some of our nope, JR. Like he's lost his stream there, but this is the remaining streamers that we have. Edwin Viorino making the pass on Jason Bice. Actually, a little further back here, Carter Stickney and Jonathan Dockery. It's a fun little battle we've got going on here. For P24, Carter Stickney up 24 spots. I'm sorry, 24 spots. Up 10 spots. And Jonathan up 3. So great result for both of these guys. Either way. Dockery's going to look on the inside and make it stick. That's a shallow entry into that turn, but he makes it work. Well done. Here we go. Shades of Formula 2 going on here. This is Jake Ashe and Jeff Fithian. As Jeff continues to pull away. Let's check back in with our leader, Chris Herrera. Working his way out to a 6.3 second lead. This guy was just talking about how he was worried about not practicing his pit road entry, and he's currently leading after the one mandatory pit stop by 6.3 seconds. So, yeah. Don't know what to say about that. Here's Jeffrey Decker's on board, looking ahead at Pete O'Brien. Once again, Pete very selflessly offered his time and energy to talk to us during the broadcast, but I don't know that I can do that when you've got Jeffrey Decker hot on your gearbox. Further back, Oliver Hartley, one of our Formula 2 racers, and Louis Boboni, sorry. Making some passes. So we tick down inside of 9 minutes remaining. Back up here with the lead group. So we've got the situation of Chris Herrera up to 6.5 second gap on the field. Pete Mobronton and Jeffrey Decker, and then Mike Bowers, Edwin Viorino, and for the tail end of that. So this is going to be P7 through P2. Had some really close racing. Look at Edwin Viorino there on Mike Bowers. Holy cow! And that's to say nothing of Jeffrey Decker and Pete O'Brien. I mean, Jeffrey just, this is the definition. We were talking the other, I think it was last week maybe, about driving in your mirrors. And can you imagine this this 13 car of Jeffrey Decker just glued to your gearbox, and Pete's trying to break the draft there. I think he saw that coming, or just lining up his turn entry there. But oh, and Edwin's gonna go off. It looks like he's missing a rear wing now. Jason Bice. So it looks like there's a little contact there between Edwin and Mike. Let's take a look. Maybe we can see what happened. And yeah, that's going to be interesting to look back at and see what's going on. But Mike able to get a nice exit out of that turn, and doesn't look too worse for the wear. Although, curious to see what the stewards will think of that one. Chris Herrera now up to 7 seconds. This battle between Kyle Reed and Paul Bachler heating up. As we slowly approach the 5-minute warning. We actually do have Jack Moffitt here. This is a brand new battle. Jack Moffitt and Aaron Law. This is more the battle for 11th than 10th, I would say, due to having a nice, comfortable 10-second lead on the two of these vehicles. We'll come back here, the battle for 4th, as Carl's going to look inside at Jason. Jason having to stay outside there. Let's see if he can get a good run, though. He's going to have the inside. Looks like he just had to pull up just a little bit there. So Carl's going to maintain the momentum. Edwin's still looking on. And looks like calling it a day. So that's going to be Edwin's day. Back up here to Chris, who I keep trying to focus on, but kind of not giving us much to look at. Now 7.5 seconds. Let's look at the visual representation of that. And you can just see there over the last few laps. Last 10 laps. Shoot. Slowly but surely carving out his time there over Pete O'Brien. Nobody has anything for Chris. This is Chris's race to lose as we are inside of 4 minutes now. Pete, though, hands full of Jeffrey Decker. This has gotta have something to do with it. These two doing a great battle here for the P2 position. It would seem like they've got the podium locked down, one would assume, because it's another 2 seconds back here to Mike Bowers, although he is not necessarily out of contact at the moment. Carl has now put no. Jason holding strong, actually. 0.4 seconds after the contact last lap. Jason holding strong on Carl there in the battle for P5. Everybody loves the top 5. I know everybody loves the podium, but that top 5 is the next big stat, and the top 10 is the next one after that. So you'll see folks fighting for those specific positions. I would say, I don't know, maybe more so than others. I think that's probably fair to say. Let's check in here with Scott Bell, and actually, since we've got him, let's bring him up on the big screen. You can see him live doing battle with Steve Dewar. I cannot wait. I hope somebody archives this, and in like 20 years, maybe 30 years even from now, we get to watch this back and think about how cool that looks and how silly it's going to look. We're all going to have the Ready Player One style headsets by that point, I'm sure. But here's actually Steve able to pull away just a little bit there. And let's bring it back up. Chris Carrera is starting the white flag lap. But again, 8 seconds lead is his race to lose. Carl Dronke into pit road. So that's going to move Jason up to 5th and basically everybody up after that, up 1 spot on the evening. So I'm sure no complaints there. But right now, this is the battle to watch. Chris Herrera up to over 8-second lead and leading comfortably as he goes through the carousel. This is Jeffrey Decker trying to put one last move on Pete Broughton, who is missing a rear wing. And that might be because of Jeffrey's missing a made contact earlier. But at any rate, here comes Chris down the final stretch into the chicane. He's got turn 11A left. He can safely navigate this. He will bring home another W for Sunday night Skippy racing. And just a fantastic start to the league for him, to the season, I guess. It's not the start to the league. He's been with us for quite a while. There's Pete Broughton, and he was able to put some time there on Jeffrey Decker. Mike Bowers, Jason Weiss swerving as he crosses the line. Walter Collada is going to be next. Peter Nodwell, Judah Tolman, Aaron Law, another 12 seconds behind them. Presumably bringing home P9, although there you go. Jack Moffitt, Kyle Reed, Paul Bachler. Here's Justin Ribello. Steve Dewar will be next, followed by Mr. Bell with the awesome rig. Don Parks, Paul Beatty. Here's Don, Paul, and then Adam in that blue and white Chicago scheme. We bringing home P19, Jeff. Up 10 spots total into P20. Oliver Hartley after. Oh, not gonna make it. Oliver is gonna get him at the line. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. Oliver up 13 spots now. Jeff only up 9. Sad to see. There's Carl and Sean Trediak. Bring home P23. Gherkin Demir. Max Giacomo. Our F2 race winner, Jeff Fithian, bringing home P26 with Doug Metzel right behind him in P27. Jake Gaucher, P28. Peter Lee, P29, up 7 spots total. And that's going to round it out. Everybody else out or in the pits. So, with all that being said, here we go. This is your race results for this evening. Chris Herrera with just an absolutely dominant performance, getting the pole, laps led, yeah, everything. Fastest lap. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yep, nope, fastest lap, I believe. And the win. So congratulations to Chris. Pete Mulbron and Jeffrey Decker, who had a great battle, will round out your podium. And we will check out what else is going on around the grid as we try to find where everybody's wrecking and having some fun. All right, well, we didn't really get to talk to him during the race because I didn't feel like bothering him. He always seemed to be fending off a very fast Jeffrey Decker, despite his willingness to do so. But Pete, do you get a good copy on me? Nope, not looking good. All right. All right, well, while we wait for folks to get on board, actually, we got Jeffrey Decker here, who finished on the podium in E3 after some really good battling there with Pete for most of the race. And, you know, I missed it. I don't know exactly what happened, but it does appear that there may have been some contact there. But either way, talk me through the race and how it went for you. Oh, and Jeffrey's muted himself. All right. All right, let's try this one more time. Judah, do you have a good copy on me? And nobody. All right. Lots of people in the interview booth. Nobody wants to talk to me. Oh, don't have permission. All right, let's work on that. Why would people not have permission? right, let's try that now. Horse muted.
There you go. Can you hear Pete now?
There you go.
All right, Pete. Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what the heck that's all about, but yeah, I mentioned several times throughout the broadcast that you had graciously offered your services for in-race reviews and whatnot, but you had your hands full there from what it appeared to me. Jeffrey Decker, a very fast driver, kind of glued to your gearbox, but either way, you were able to pull out the P2. Talk us through what you saw tonight.
Yeah, it was definitely an intense race, start to finish. So the first 3 laps, I don't remember who it was, but P2 and P3 got the slowdown laps 1 and 2 respectively, I think, which gave Chris the gap. So then after that, Decker went in for the went for the pass, which I figured made sense, was my only real possibility to make something happen. Um, so figured I'd try and get some fuel saving done there. And then, Decker got a little bit loose in T7, and that gave Chris a little bit more of a gap. And then we had traffic that slowed down Chris and us. So at that point, it was just fight to the death for P2. I was a little bit outclassed tonight, if I'm honest. I think Decker was faster than me. Chris was much faster than me, so I'm pretty happy with the P2. I think it's the best I could have possibly done with those slowdowns in traffic.
Yeah, this was honestly, it was kind of a crazy race to watch because of how things kind of shook out. But uh, only the one pit stop, first of all. There was a lot of what I'm getting on the Discord here, some slowdowns, not only in traffic but off track slowdowns that maybe we weren't really tracking on, or it was difficult to track to, and some incidents, and it was, I got to be honest with you, a very difficult race to follow, but it was fun watching you and Jeffrey do battle. You did a very good job of holding your line. That's something we talk about a lot, and I bring out your coaching hat just a little bit. But one thing we've brought up quite a bit in the past couple of races, I'd say, is the not driving in your mirrors is kind of how we put it, but just being able to. There's a certain skill to focusing on what you need to do, hitting your marks, and not worrying about what the driver behind you is doing to an extent, obviously. So what is your, not to put you on the spot here, I don't know that there's like a book answer to this, but kind of what is it that you are able to do? Is it just inherent in what your ability as a driver is, or do you have to, is that something you had to work on, not focusing on what the guy behind you was doing?
Oh, that's human nature, is to absolutely freak out when there's a car 0.1 seconds off your bumper going into a corner. I don't think anybody is born being able to deal with that. That is absolutely a skill that needs to be honed. And it helps a lot being in this league, in this environment, where you can at least trust the intention of the people around you, right? Mistakes are made, but nobody's going to, they're going to do their best to take care of you when they're behind you, right? So it's a good environment to um, kind of cut your teeth and practice not doing so much mirror driving. Trust that the guy behind is going to be reasonable. Choose your line. Choose what side of the track you want to put them on your head, and then just execute. Right. It's really just a matter of building trust with the drivers around you and getting over that. You get that fight or flight adrenaline rush when somebody could kill you
Right,
in this
right.
corner, right? So getting enough repetitions in with drivers that you trust, that you can start to build that rapport and know that they're not, and then that's when you can start playing chess instead of checkers, and that's kind of the whole point of iRacing for me too, compared to anything else.
Well, it was a race really well run. It was a lot of fun to watch. Do you have anything else before we let you go? Any thoughts on the again, I hate putting you on the spot, and I don't mean to, but looking forward at the future of Sunday Night Skippy, since we have you in the booth here. Just the coaching aspect, the whole new Formula 2, and how we're kind of molding that at the moment, to see what it can be. Just like to get your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, I'm more than cautiously optimistic on how that's shaking out. We had a good, strong, positive response. It's looking like we're really taking those original roots of being a development league, a place for all comers who have that clean racing and personal growth as a driver at the forefront of their goal list. And I'm pretty excited to see how we can better support that. We're definitely looking like we can set up a very strong pro-am system. It may not be the comprehensive scoring that everyone's looking forward to, but as far as driver development and fostering improvement from wherever you're at, and making all of our seasoned, the more experienced drivers available to those who'd be interested in soaking up that knowledge. I think we're definitely going the right path. So I'm excited to see how it shakes out this season.
Me as well. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I won't be missing this one. I'll say that. I'm looking forward to a track that actually has, like brake markers that, wouldn't cause them to completely lose their sanctioning license if they were removed. So that'll be great. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, this track would be death in real life.
Yes, in real life, they do put out the markers because no sanctioning body would allow this to be run. There's no way. Anyway, that's my spiel on that. So looking forward to a properly marked racetrack next week.
Very good. Well, hey, congratulations either way. A rough night ending up P2, I think, is on a lot of people's bucket lists and dream lists. So well run either way, and we look forward to seeing what you can do next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you. All right, that was Pete Broughton there, bringing home the number 2 position. We're gonna make Chris Hergar wait. He's used to that. I want to bring in Judah Tolman, who I apologize, Judah. I think falsely said that Chris had the purple lap for the race, and I am being corrected now. So I do apologize for that. I want to give you credit if that's true. How was the race from your perspective?
It was fun. It was a lot of pushing. Like I played catch up the whole race because I was a little bit off the lead pack behind Edwin and Peter. So I spent a lot of the race trying to catch up to them, and then once I did catch up to them, I made a move on Edwin through the carousel, and we had a little bit of contact. I'm not sure what the contact was. I don't know if he slid out or I came in or netcode or whatever it was. I haven't looked at the replay yet. But that put me pretty far back. I did have a little bit of damage. So I messed up my pit stop too. I pitted a little bit early and I hadn't planned for that. So I did full fuel. And as I went into my pit stall, I went a little bit too far forward. So I had to reverse back into it. And I forgot to put the car in first gear. And so when the fueling was done, I slammed on the gas and I went reverse. So lost like maybe 2 seconds there. But yep. Stuff happens, man. But it was a fun race, and I really do like Sonoma. I'm excited for next season at Sonoma. It's such a fun track, and the racing is really close, if not sketchy. But yeah, I had a fun time, and fastest lap is definitely a good achievement for me. And what did I finish? P8, I think, which is not bad at all. That's a very
you were up 5 spots total for the evening. So all in all, in fact, I was actually shocked as I was scrolling through the grid, listening to Jason give the fantastic driver's briefing. I was shocked to see you back that far. To be honest with you, I was like, oh man, did he have an off track or something like that? But
before qualifying up, qualifying didn't go well either for me. But
yeah.
I had first 2 laps were clean, and then actually what happened is on my second to last lap, I got a slowdown through the final turn, and then my last 2 qualifying laps were null and void. So unfortunate, and I probably could have gotten up maybe 5, 6, maybe even 7 spots up from where I was, but hey, stuff happens. This race was not ideal. Better than last week, I'll say for sure. But
yeah, I think a lot of people were struggling with I had 2 invalidated laps, and I heard a few others up there as well. I think everybody was struggling with that a little bit. The track felt a little different, and for some reason, it always feels different on Sunday night. We try to mirror the settings as closely as we can, but there does always seem to be a slight difference but I really felt it tonight. I was like a fish out of water when I joined that session. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the track. I mean, for me, I think it's great that the track is a little bit more slick on Sundays. It kind of opens up just the different ways for people to drive the track. It makes people learn how to drive
yeah,
the track differently, and it makes
yeah.
the racing closer, I think. And it makes it a little bit. It just makes everything more interesting, and I think it is a very, very, very good thing that the track does stay slick on Sundays, just for all those reasons I just mentioned. And plus I feel faster. I feel like I can be faster than other people on a slick track.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that it adds a little bit of variability at the end of what is usually a long week. Usually when we get to the race on Sunday night, everybody is ready to move on. They're kind of over the track at that point. They've had they've accumulated their battle scars from the pubs, and they're just ready for something else. So that little bit of variability, I agree with you, Judah. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
If
I
I
love
knew how
it.
to
I
fix
hope
it,
that
which I
never
absolutely
changes.
don't know how, but if I could, I don't know that I would try. So,
Please don't. Please don't. Oh man.
but yeah,
But
congrats
hey,
on
so where
the
did you end up
on the hot
finishing?
lap there.
Thank you. Where did you end up finishing?
Uh,
You
five
were
or
five,
six.
five
Yeah,
P5.
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah.
Solid top 5. Good to see it. Also, I wanna give a shout out to Jeffrey. I'm impressed with his performance tonight. That was pretty cool to see him all the way up in the podium. And Peter Nodwell as well. Again, that's not someone who's usually in the top 10. And he did a good job tonight. He really put the Jets on and did some work. And obviously, shout out to all my family and friends watching this, and to you guys and just the whole league for bringing the racing as good as it can be.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate it, and we love watching your race. It's always a good time. I'm really curious to see how this full season goes for you in the future, and you bring just such a great attitude toward it that it's infectious and kind of intoxicating. So keep it up, and we will see you next week with better things to come, I'm sure.
That's Suzuka, one of my favorite all-time favorite tracks. I love Suzuka.
I did not know Suzuka until very recently, and we did that obviously for the Winter Challenge for charity, and now I love it.
Yeah, it's such a
Anytime
fun track.
anybody's there, yeah, I was like, oh, yep, no, I'll jump on that. Indy Pro is there this week or next week, whatever. Yeah, I'll jump
Yep.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
it's a great track.
car. Yeah, even a Miata, it's a great tracking. It's like
Yeah.
it has so much variability, and yeah, the straights are really long, especially in these slower cars. But man, is that
Yeah, what I like, a lot of people tend to complain about the draft fest that can be the Skippy at most tracks, really. But at Suzuka, it doesn't bother me because you've got that big draft and then you've got a technical section.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, so things sort themselves out. Maybe this will be the season that I learn spoon curve that has always given me fits. The exit of that just crushes me every time.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you having me in here, and I will see you next week after Suzuka.
Looking forward to it, man. We'll see you then.
Yep. All right. See you then. Adios.
All right. Let's see. Well, we've got Chris Herrera, race winner, pole sitter, race winner, most laps led, pretty sure. And we, I want to hear your opinion on the race from your perspective. But one thing that we were talking about was driving in your mirrors with Pete because he had Jeffrey Decker on his gearbox the whole dang race. What is the mindset when you're out to a 6, 7, whatever second lead? And it's yours to lose. Like, how do you do that? What is it that goes through your mind? How do you prepare for that? Were you always good at that, or is that something you work at?
So that has its own sets of challenges in terms of stress and anxiety. Obviously, you like to get the gap, and to my surprise, it was actually increasing. So I think that was a combination of I had some really good pace today. I felt good on the track, but also the guys behind me were probably battling, and that of course makes things a lot easier for me because when they battle, they're not doing optimal lines and they're going to go a lot slower.
Confirmed.
And yeah,
There was a lot going on between you and I in that race.
yeah. And when the gap got to I think 2 or 3 seconds at that point, I decided I'm not even going to look in the mirrors at all, and I'm going to try not to even listen to my spotter when he tells me what the gaps are. Inevitably, I failed at that because I just didn't have the mind power to fully focus on that. I probably should have, but at the end of the day, it worked out, and I'm really happy with the result. And it was unfortunate that Mike got the slowdown. I think at the end of lap 2 or maybe lap 3, and I think that took him out of the podium because after that it was Pete and Jeff, is my understanding. I don't know what happened to Edwin. I think he got a slowdown early on, but I actually didn't even see him in the final results, so I'm not sure
Yeah,
if he spun out
Edwin had a
again.
slowdown early on, and then there were a few contacts. I think he had contact with Mike and possibly with Carl. I'm not positive though, but uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there were a couple bumps in there, and I think I'd love to hear from anybody who made it through that race without getting a slowdown in turn 12. I had
There
two.
was there was one lap where I almost did, and at the last minute, I corrected myself to just get a little bit more distance on there.
Nice. You should get a bonus point just for that.
But yeah, Chris, getting back to your question about the strategy for when you have a gap like that. Part of the strategy, which I should probably listen to if this opportunity ever comes up again, is to really not focus on the gap because part of me is thinking, crap. Now, if the person behind me is catching up, then that's strictly due to speed because there's no in front or behind me. My car is perfectly aerodynamic. I don't have any damage, so this is just a pure hot lapping between me and the guy behind me. But luckily, I didn't have too much stress on that because they're battling each other.
Yeah, I think we brought that up. That probably helped, but yeah, not having been in that position often, I know that I almost overthink the my lines to some extent. When I have some like a rabbit in front of me to chase, it's almost easier for me, and so maintaining that the pace and the fact that you were pulling away, I think is. Despite the battle going on, it's not like they were side by side super often. It was definitely close racing, but
Y-
not the traditional time wasting battle that you would anticipate. So it was just
Yeah.
all the more impressive to me that you were able to not only maintain it but extend it. And
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
yeah,
I think another benefit, as I'm thinking of it, just real quick, is that with this particular track and the lack of markers in terms of turn-in points and break points, if you have someone whose tail you're on, a lot of times you're going to miss those turn-in points. You're going to be a little bit more conservative and break a little bit earlier, maybe, and that's going to make it hard to have an opportunity to pass them if you are, really in their gearbox. So that's just another benefit of being by yourself is you can see the full track, and if you can see those little dips in the road, then you can spot your brake markers.
there you go. Well, hey man, it was a fantastic race, just dominant performance overall, and a lot of fun. Well, I don't know, fun to watch is, I guess, relative. I'm sure, I'm sure your fans out there thought it was fun to watch, but it was very much a Hamilton moment for you. Uh, yeah, any final thoughts going into next week?
What's our track next week?
Suzuka.
Suzuka. Okay. I need to refamiliarize myself with that one, but I'm looking forward to it. And as always, shout out to Running on Empty and to you in the booth. I now have experienced twice now with how difficult it can be to be in there and try to give some good information, follow the race, as well as explain what's going on. So thanks again for everything you do. And Jason, you and the rest of the stewards as well. A lot of fun.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, have a great one. Shout out again to Team Running on Empty. Thanks for showing up and watching and showing your support for Chris and the league. And it's just been a lot of fun. So we'll see you next week at Suzuka.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
See you.
Yeah, take care. Congrats.
All right. Well, hey Jason, how was the race for you? So you got to call the action early, and then you got to jump in there. Ended up P5, which I mean, it you got to be happy with that. You end up 3 spots up from where you started, and P5 in this league is a fantastic achievement. But you looked I don't know how to explain it, but you looked faster. I don't know how I don't know how else to explain it, but it's just kind of like, man, you had I felt like you had Mike at least in your sights. Were you seeing the same things, or are you just happy to survive with a P5?
I was pretty happy, honestly. If I'm being completely honest, I was really struggling because of what we discussed with Judah. The track conditions really caught me off guard, um,
Mm,
and it shouldn't have. I mean, we see this every week, and we've spent the past year trying to figure out why our sessions run a little bit slicker uh, than the pubs and the practice sessions, but they do. So I shouldn't have been surprised, but it took me a while to really find my bearings, and I was very fortunate because there were a lot of slowdown penalties taking place. I had a couple myself, um, and we saw some contact, which was kind of rough to see. But by the end of the race, I had kind of settled into my groove, which is a really good time. I think Carl ended up running out of fuel. I was really proud of my pass until I realized that it occurred because he was out of gas. But um, it's Carl. I'll take it. If that's the only way I
yeah,
can get around him, then so be it.
it's part of the
Um,
race. It's part of the
yeah,
race. The pit stop, this fuel strategy, that's all part of it. So, yep.
yeah. He had a rough deal. He encountered lap traffic at a pretty crucial moment. I think going into turn 5, if I recall, and so I was really surprised when he and we were in the pits at the same time, and I knew that he had fallen back because of that contact with lap traffic. And then when we exited the pits at the same time, I was like, I know I got my fuel calc right on the button this time, so Carl might be in trouble. And I think he did run out of fuel with a lap or two to go. I started gaining ground on Mike, and then I made a few mistakes, got a little too eager, and that's really what those slick conditions do. They exaggerate your mistakes,
Mm,
um, and but I agree with Judah. I love the variability, and I think we're all ready for something a little bit different come Sunday night. So I wouldn't change it if I could, but I don't know how. So
very good. Yeah, no, that
literally
makes a lot of
cannot
sense.
control the weather.
Yeah, well, you'd be in for quite the windfall if you could. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting to hear. You definitely looked like you were in control, and it again, it was just a coming out with a P5 on this track
Very
in
happy
this
with it.
league.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's
Oh
nothing to see
yeah.
that's kind of where I was hesitating. Like, oh man, it's still a P5. It's really really good, but
You'll
it looked
never hear me complain about that.
you definitely look more comfortable. I think that maybe some of it was just in my mind because you had done the track tour on Twitch earlier, which I think
Yeah.
was a huge success. I think having you in the broadcast booth and talking through all of the track, you seemed very confident about the track itself going into it. But I guess the weather conditions, variable there is not something that I was considering when I was thinking about that. So maybe subliminally, I was thinking, man, this guy's really got a handle on the, um, you know, overlay and the corners and the apexes and all that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love Sonoma. It's a track that I've raced across a variety of sims and games over the years, so I'm fairly familiar with it. And I certainly, gosh, if I came off like I'm blowing off a P5, not at all.
no,
Like you
no, no.
said, yeah, in this league, I will take that every day of the week. Um, Very, very happy with that finish. And Sonoma is just very satisfying to drive. I agree with Pete that it's missing some things. When Walter said earlier in the week that this is about the most minimal implementation of a track that's ever been shipped, and I, I would agree. There's some things that just feel unfinished about it, and I hope that
Mm,
that's fixed in next season's configuration, whatever that happens to be, because it's such a beautiful track, and it almost feels like it's purpose built for cars like the Skippy. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
how are you doing? You've had a long night.
man. Well, we will see how this works out. It was really a great benefit to have both you and Chris in the booth and doing most of the talking, and me just kind of being quiet and letting you guys do that in the first half. I don't know that I could do a full few hours of attempting to do this, but I will say it's odd because we had you both and Ian in the booth for the first race with like 10 drivers, and then
Hmm.
when we had 40 drivers on the grid, yeah, it's just it's just me. But that's all right. That's all right. I just feel bad with that. I don't really. I feel a sense of I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I want to make sure that everybody gets their due. I hate it. I hate it when I hear, and not that I hate to hear it, but I just feel bad when I hear later in the week, like, oh, you missed my epic pass or my great battle with so and so, and it's just tough. I do try, and there's just so much going on, and yeah.
Well, I think I speak for everyone. I mean, you put out a hell of a product, and if there is anybody out there who, at this point, doesn't yet appreciate how
No,
difficult
no,
it is,
well, that's the thing. I don't think
they should
there's.
sit with you for 5 minutes because it's not easy.
I,
It's very difficult, and
and
yeah,
yeah, I don't think they're saying that from a, oh, how could you have, perspective.
how dare
You're
you?
right, right, right. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you missed that. What were you thinking? It was just more of a. I do feel bad because I think a lot of people get a lot of value. I'm sitting here watching the chat, and I've got family members, friends, coworkers, who are checking in and rooting for their driver, and yeah, I definitely feel a responsibility to try to make sure that everybody kind of gets their screen time, and when they do something amazing, because there's a lot of amazing things that happen every Sunday, and it doesn't have to be a win. It can be an amazing pass for P24.
Yeah,
You know what I mean,
yeah.
and that can be the an awesome thing for you, and yeah, so it just kind of sucks when I miss it, but at any rate, I do appreciate the support of the league, and again, I've never taken any feedback as a negative, for sure. I didn't mean that, but yeah. Anyway, I'm curious to see how this Formula Two, Formula One
Yeah,
construct goes
yeah.
moving forward. I like it. I actually, just from my perspective, it's a lot of fun to watch the Formula Two. Obviously, the Formula One, as we're calling it now, split is uh, always going to be just amazing to watch, and you guys always put on a great race, and I think that's what people show up here for. But the Formula 2, I think, just has so much potential, and the fact that we're able to really dial in on, the track, and have some folks in here to talk more specifically about the race itself and the dynamics, and focus on the people, and kind of how they're doing throughout the race. Uh, I'm that has me pumped. It's just something new. I think it's pumping new blood into this league that is going to be great. We're going to introduce some coaching aspects into that for those of you who are aware. I don't know that we really touched on that, but folks who are in the Formula 2 race, having some of the faster guys actually sit there and spot and kind of talk them through and coach them as they're going through the race on, uh, on either specific turns or just overall, real time, being able to talk them through what is happening, and kind of what they're thinking about. So this is just such a wild twist on iRacing in and of itself. When I first joined, it was, I'm going to go in and do some public races. And that was my iRacing experience. That's what I was spending my monthly subscription on. And look at
Right.
us now. I mean, it's crazy.
Absolutely. And, to any of those Formula 2 drivers that are listening, we really, really want your feedback because we have a lot of flexibility and freedom in how we approach the entire Formula 2 series. A lot of the decisions that we've made around the Formula 1 series, even before we were calling it Formula 1, they're all a degree of compromise because we're catering to a very broad range of skill. And for the Formula 2 series, we're not constrained by that. We're not constrained by the broad range of skill, and we're not constrained by the huge numbers. So um, we can we can react a lot more quickly to feedback. We don't need to go through the lengthy feedback filtering process that we do with everything else. Um, so, hit us with your ideas, anything from the time that the race is taking place to the iRating cap to the number of pit stops, whatever it is. We have a lot more flexibility there. So,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great boon to the league, to racing in general, and everybody who's watching. And I encourage everybody who qualifies in there to race that, and and
Yeah,
realize the potential. And if nothing else, it's better than turning practice laps on your own. I mean,
it is.
period.
It is,
Dot.
and I think one of the toughest messages to get out is you don't have to be a league member to race in our Formula 2 series. The only requirement is that you do need to read and adhere to our sporting code. But if your I rating is below 1700, please join that race. Particularly if you're sitting on the wait list to get into the league itself, and you have an I rating below 1700, that's a great place to start participating. And full disclosure, I hope nobody shoots me for saying this, but when we're trying to figure out who to pull off the wait list, we normally go by order. But if there's somebody at the top of the wait list that we haven't seen in a month, and the guy in the second spot is on our Discord, he's in our practice races, and he's running that Formula 2 series, that's a no-brainer in my opinion. So I don't know if if
Yeah.
Chris and Ian are gonna shoot me behind the scenes here, but that's what I've been doing, and sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I can't speak for Ian, but that goes a long way. I mean, being part of the community, and because that's really what we were trying to avoid doing, is splitting the community, right?
right,
And when
right.
that was the whole initial fear, and why there was such a massive backlash at the thought, even just the thought of splits, was yeah, the whole point is we've got a great thing going here, and to to split that up kind of is counterproductive to what we're trying to do. We're just going to become another 2K Cup or stuff that
Right.
already exists. We're trying to find our niche. Man, I can't talk tonight.
Either or.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to find our spot in the iRacing universe, and um, yeah. So we do have a somebody checking in above 1700 and on the wait list. Feels bad, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Who do we have there? Do we know who that
And
is?
no, big ideas, Andy. Maybe he can tell me who he is on Twitch there. But yeah. So yeah, that is an unfortunate um thing. Not necessarily something that we planned on, but I think the spirit of the Formula 2 isn't that we have somebody on there who's a 4 or 5K guy, and it's tough. It's an arbitrary line, right? 1700, 1800, whatever it is. Um, you had to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, the whole idea is to give those people that are normally ducking traffic for the second half of the race to let them really focus on running a race. And I heard Pete say earlier that we're kind of leaning into our development league roots by doing this, and uh, that really is the entire purpose. Now, if somebody's stuck on the wait list and they don't qualify for that, we also run our Walter Collada runs a Friday practice, Robert Langitano runs a Wednesday practice, and I get as much out of those warm up races as I do the Sunday night races. They're not broadcast, but they're a lot of fun, and the turnout for those is ridiculous. It overshadows all previous seasons. Um, we'll get 30 cars on those grids at times. It's crazy. So join us in those. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, and actually, so he just checked in. Joshua Fidge Johnson, who has participated in some of those practice races that you're talking about, that are
Ah,
just
yes.
as if not more fun than the races themselves, minus the broadcast, which I have a affinity toward. But the yeah, that obviously keep participating and doing that, and
And
I
Joshua, for what it's worth, you're at the top of that wait list.
there you
So
go, Joshua.
yeah.
Watching the broadcast to the podcast part of the evening, I think that's gonna get you some. That's gonna get you some bonus points. Oh man, that's funny. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, he's next up. So yeah.
Boom. There it
Yep.
is. It's on video now, so you can't
Yep.
take it back.
It's on the record.
On the record. And we do cycle through pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
not a ton of turnover, but onesie twosies here and there. Life comes up for folks, and we get that. And
Yeah.
maybe they just yeah, not
Yeah,
not able to
there's a
race
spot or two that I expect to open probably next week.
Yeah, when you
We've
look
got a
at
couple guys. They've just kind of disappeared, and they
right.
haven't responded to pings. So that's usually how our turnover works. Is people just kind of disappear, and we give them 4 or 5 weeks to let us know what's going on. And if we don't hear from them, then that's when we go to the wait list. So
Exactly right. And that's yeah, understood that life comes up. We've all been there. And at the same time, we still have a responsibility to keep the folks who want to participate, coming through. And
yeah,
if you can't at the moment, that's fine, but you can get back on the wait list. And if you've been a former league member, that gives you some priority as well. So
yeah,
you can always
absolutely.
get back on.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I'm toast.
Yeah, you've got to be.
I'm
I don't know
toast.
how you do it, but thank you.
We will try it again next week. And the last thing I want to say is, if you've got feedback, not just for the overall how it went, gotta be honest with you. The fact that this is done by a league member for the league, but I guess say members for the league. We're not paying somebody to do the broadcast. It's we have complete control. So good news there is that we can try different things, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't, oh well. And it doesn't cost us anything. So if you liked some of the things you saw, leave that feedback. If you didn't, or you have some advice, for how it could be better, open to it. Can't promise that it'll be implemented just based on, technical limitations. We've got some pretty creative suggestions in the past, but
I mean, I'd really like somebody on physical location that you
exactly,
can picture in picture. So if you can make that work, that would be
exactly.
that'd be great.
I
Do my
wish
best Lumberg that I can there.
I wish I hadn't actually received that particular one before. But anyway, no, we we do our best, but appreciate everybody understanding. It's we're just something we do for fun. And okay, so yes, recommendations on the broadcast, recommendations on if there's drivers out there who have recommendations on, hey, this worked, this didn't. We have the feedback channel in the Discord. Please leave it there. Totally open to hearing what your opinions and thoughts are. And I think that was the last point I was going to make. Other than that, hope you like the new picture-in-picture driver live stream thing that we're trying.
I can't wait to see that.
We're gonna try. Yeah, I'm gonna try to implement that a little more smoothly. I just really wanted to present it tonight. Like, hey, this is something that we can do, and a real big thank you to the drivers who made that happen. I'm sure there's a better, smoother way to implement it, but it was just really neat that we saw it. Some of the drivers raised their hand, said, "Yeah, I want to be a part of it," and we were able to go and do that and check it out. So we'll as stuff comes up that actually becomes technologically feasible for a guy who knows nothing about technology. We will continue to roll that out and make it better. But anyway, hey, thanks a lot, Jason, for your. I mean, you got to be toast too. You did a broadcast and then a race. That's no easy feat either. So thank you for what you do and the admin stuff. I know you've had a busy week.
We got
Putting
a
all
lot
this
done this
together.
week.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was it
Good
was like
stuff
this
happened.
vacation, yeah, and not time off, but it wasn't really time off. We poured our energy into this and made a lot of different stuff happen. And I think for those of you who don't know, it is democratic to some degree, but I can tell in the admin and steward discussions, at the end of the day, we're all kind of just making recommendations to Jason. Like that's kind of how it feels. Like, hey, this is how I feel. And Jason will obviously, like he said right away, if we're not 100% on board with the Formula 2, Formula 1 thing, we're not doing it. But at the same time, we were like, yeah, that's great, but that's still and that's tough. You got a lot of people whose you know free time and enjoyment out of this is impacted by your decisions, and they're not always popular. I think this is a great example of where something that you implemented on the opinion of your wife, who had a great idea, and we all admitted that right away, at least on the admin side. You brought that to light in the Discord, and it was like robble, robble, robble. And then suddenly, after everybody kind of saw it, they're like, oh, actually, hold up, there may be something to this. And so you deal with a lot of that as well. And that's not to say anything bad against the league members. I think everybody's very passionate, and that's
Oh,
the
for
other
sure.
difficult thing in a good way, in a very good way
Yep.
is, this is how I want it to be, and I have enough invested in this league that I'm going to speak up and say something. And that's a good problem to have, for sure. But at the end of the
It
day,
really is. Yeah.
it is a mental toll to, like, I hear you, but we're doing this, and and being diplomatic about that, and yeah. So hats off to you, and rolling that out, and I think ultimately this is going to be a really great thing for everybody. Uh, Great last week, you know, uh, soft rollout this week. I think people saw what it was all about, and we're gonna have a little more success moving forward. So yeah. Anyway, quarter to 11, my time. Time to go to bed. So we will see you. Any last thoughts, Jason?
None. If I start talking, then it'll be like quarter after
Ex-
11, and you and your wife will both be displeased with me. So,
yeah, that is the biggest threat to this broadcast is
yeah.
continuing to go past 11 p.m. and yeah, not having the free time there. But anyway, we'll see everybody next week. Looking forward to Suzuka, which I didn't even realize that was the next race, to be honest with you. But I'm
It's
really
our
excited about
anniversary
that
race too. Yeah.
anniversary race. I'm honestly, for the broadcast, considering, we'll see. Maybe for the Formula 2 race I'll jump in, because I do believe I still qualify for that, um and do that part of it as a in race feature, but we'll a lot of time to think
That would
about
be
that.
great. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
That would be great. I've
Lot.
always felt bad that you don't get to race. You're doing all the
Yeah,
work
so
and
selfishly, this Formula 2 construct makes me feel a lot better about jumping in and racing with you guys, because it gives me the opportunity to do that without, messing up championship standings for the, Formula 1 guys, and maybe mess up the championship standings for the Formula 2 guys, but that's a lot less people to piss off. So we'll see what we'll
well,
see.
if you want to run that, we will find a way to broadcast that race. It may not be as fancy as your broadcast, but we will figure out a way to make that happen. So,
All right. All right. Well, yeah, more to come on
yeah.
that, but
Yep.
yeah, fun stuff. All right. Well, we will see everybody next week at Suzuka. Looking forward to that from a broadcasting perspective, because that is also one of my favorite courses now. I didn't realize it was until relatively recently, but um, seeing the Skippies on that will be interesting. We raced the Winter Challenge Series there, and the Formula One, the actual Formula One cars there. I've raced GT3 there, in addition to some other things, but not the Skippies. And
It's good in the Skippy. In my opinion, I love that course in the Skippy. I love it in any car, but it's really racy in the Skippy because you have the intermittent draft. You've got a really strong draft, and then you've got a technical section, and then a really strong draft, and then a technical section. And you definitely won't be bored in the broadcast, that's for sure.
no, yeah, and I'm thinking it's very, um, boy, I'm probably gonna get skewered for this. It reminds me a little bit of Spa, in that you got that long drafting straightaway, and then a quick little chicane, and then
Yeah.
the final push toward the end. Like, the very finish is very reminiscent of that to me, which I always really enjoyed, because you got the draft, so you can make your move in the draft, but then you still have to focus on that quick little chicane and try to get a good exit out of there. So to me, there's a lot of strategy that's involved with, do I want to be first? Do I want to be second going into that
Yeah,
last
the
turn?
last few turns there are a lot of fun in the Skippy because you've got that long straight coming out of Spoon, and then you've got 130R, which in the Skippy, at least the last time I ran it in the Skippy, could not be taken flat out. I don't know under the new model, the new changes, if it can be, but the last time I
Oh,
was on it, it was a game of chicken. And then you've got the chicane that gets you onto the front straight, and I mean, I don't do a lot of pubs, but I will be racing a lot of pubs at Suzuka. It's just the racing is just so good.
well, yeah, I may do that as well. I don't remember the last time I did a Skippy public race, but yeah, this may be one of those times where I break that, because yeah, it's just a great track on any car you're in. And here we go.
Yeah.
It's almost 11. We're getting closer. We're getting
I
real,
promised I'd stop
real
talking, so.
close. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Suzuka next week, and I apologize for that. We will see you a week from tonight for the Formula 2 race. That'll start at roughly 8:10 unless things change. So keep your eye on for that. Keep your eye out for that. Still anticipate a nice solid transition into the Formula 1 race at 9-ish, 9:10 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, that's all I got. Have a great night, everybody.
Take care, Chris.